What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the video. Today we're going to be breaking down the Walking Dead characters in the Walking Dead game, of course, as we've been covering a lot on the channel. Ever since my video I did a couple days ago discussing the idea of who could be coming back in Season 2, Episode 2, which was somewhat revealed. We don't really know who it is. We just know someone who is, we think, dead, is really actually alive, and is coming back and making a new appearance in Season 2, Episode 2. We don't know who it is yet. I made a speculation video, and I realized I just don't remember a lot of the characters, and I'm sure a lot of you guys don't as well. Just to add some perspective to this, how many characters there actually are in the Walking Dead game, just in Season 1 alone, there were over 40 characters. So between Season 1, Season 2, and 400 days, there could easily be over 100 characters by the time Season 2 is completed. So that's just too many to remember. I thought I'd go ahead and make a video explaining all of the characters. For this video, we're going to do Season 1. We're going to do a video in a couple days about The Walking Dead 400 Days. And then when Season 2 is completed, we will also do one on Season 2. And then from there on out, we'll do one on Season 4, 5, 6, however many seasons they end up making. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video, guys. As you can see, before we get into it, I do want to explain a little bit of the format. In the top left, we're going to have kind of the family tree. So the Everitt family is going to be the first one we discuss. And then in the middle, we're going to have the people in the family, right? For this one, it's going to be Lee and B. Everitt. On the top right, you can see kind of a little bit of a key for where they are right now with their living status in The Walking Dead. Green is alive, so you can see neither one of these guys are alive. Red is dead, that's confirmed dead. Undead is going to be the grayed out area. Unknown is going to be, you know, let's say Glenn, right? He was just left. We're like, we don't know what happened to him. That's going to be an unknown. And then purple is going to be determinate. Now, determinate, what that basically means is that it was based on a character's input. So what the wiki says, which is where this information is pulled from, the walkingdead.com wiki, which I'll have a link in the description for all of the information if you want to learn more. But basically what they're saying is determinate is a character with a determinate status only applies in the video game Walking Dead series, where a player's action determines the final status of the game. So for us, Lee, he's dead, and he's a determinate character, and you can see the episode he dies in, he's bitten in around every corner, and he died in no time left. So that's what happens there. It kind of explains it pretty well, and I think this is just a good format to kind of explain everything. Additionally, note a character with an unknown status was alive when last seen, but was injured, lost, or we just don't know where they are, right? So whatever it may be, that's kind of what an unknown character is. So we've heard of the character, yes, we just don't know what their current status is. They may be injured, may be bitten, or something like that. We just don't know what happened to them. So that's the explanation of the key in the top right, and you can see all the names are color coordinated with the key in the top right. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive into these characters. We first heard about Lee in the beginning of Season 1, and that's when we were kind of introduced to him. And then his last appearance was before he died in No Time Left and All That Remains. That's also where he died in those 2 episodes. So his actual death, depending on how you ended up playing out the game, Clementine shot him in the head. You don't actually see him with blood coming out of his head, so that's kind of where people think, oh, maybe he's coming back. But to be honest, it's really not going to happen. He died from either blood loss, being shot in the head, his arm being cut off, infection. So many things had gone wrong with Lee towards the end. His eyes were yellow. Like, there was no coming back from where he was. He's not going to be a robot when he comes back, nothing crazy. So that's who Lee is. Next, we have B. Everitt. B. Everitt is Lee's brother. We find out about him in a picture. We never actually see him, so the image that is used is actually from the photo that we see that we find in the drugstore. Now, the drugstore comes up in Season 1 pretty early, and this is where we are introduced to other characters, which we'll discuss later. But basically, Lee's brother, B. Everitt, we never see him. We just hear about him. It's a little bit of a sad story, and all of his family is deceased as well at this point. And he was a drugstore employee, oddly enough, at the drugstore that Lee was held up at. The next group of survivors we have here is the Clementine family. So Clementine's family, obviously a big one as well, more apparent in Season 2 when Clementine becomes the main character after Lee's death. But Clementine's just this little girl. Her occupation, obviously, she's just a little girl, so she's just a school student. Both her parents are deceased. When we find out about Clementine early in Season 1, she's with Lee. Lee comes out and protects her. It's kind of her friend, mentor, guardian, protector, whatever you may call it. Her first appearance was in A New Day, right in the beginning, and she's still alive today. She's really one of the only characters that is still alive that we know of for sure and actively play as. Additionally, we have Ed and Diana. Both of them are dead. They're both of her parents. We never really see them. We just know that they're zombified and No Time Left. That was their first and last appearance, and their cause of death is the zombie infection. Our next group is Clementine's Neighbours. Now, these never really become important, but it is kind of interesting to know that they do exist, and since we're breaking down all the characters, we can't leave any of them out. First thing we have is Chet, and then we have Andre. Chet was kind of just briefly brought up with Andre. They're both neighbors of Clementine, and they were just shown in A New Day. Nothing really happens to them other than Chet has a determinate ending. I don't really recall what it was. I guess Chet ended up as a zombie. I don't know. But anyway, Chet's a determinate ending, and then Andre is unknown. So technically, Andre could be coming back. Not really likely. It's probably just a character that was there to fill the gap and kind of be made apparent. His occupation for Andre was a Georgia State Police officer. The next two people we have here is Hershel and Shawn. Hershel is Shawn's father. Shawn right now is dead. We know that for sure. He was accidentally pinned down underneath a tractor by Duck and then eaten alive from there. But we don't know what's happened to Hershel. We actually haven't seen him since we were on the farm. What we do know is that Hershel is in his late 50s or early 60s. So he's probably pretty old by now as time has passed. We know Clementine has grown up quite a bit. Just a lot of time has passed, probably a couple years now in The Walking Dead. So Hershel's getting pretty old. We don't know what's happened to him. We haven't seen him since A New Day. We know he's a veterinarian and a farmer, so he could be definitely a handy character if he comes back. But right now, we don't know what his status is. The next group of survivors we have here is Kenny's family. Right now, Kenny is unknown. The rest of his family is dead, including his sister-in-law. What we do also know is that Kenny and Katja are a married couple, or were a married couple, before the end of Katja's life when she died. Additionally, their son Duck is dead. He is a determinant, but he is still dead. The reason he's determinant is because you can choose to shoot him as Lee, or you can allow Kenny to put his own son down, is basically what it is. The alternative is to leave him to die by himself and become a walker. He is confirmed dead because he was bitten by a walker during the escape from the Traveler Motel while it was being overrun. The next group of survivors we have is the pharmacy survivors. This is where Glenn, Carly, Doug, and Beatrice are introduced. First, we have Glenn. Glenn is unknown right now. We don't know where he is. He left to go meet with friends, as you can see in the picture. Glenn leaving the group to find his friends in Atlanta. So we don't know where Glenn is. It is very realistic that Glenn could be coming back in season 2 to meet with Clementine, which we don't know at this time. The next character we have here is Carly. Now, she ended up dying either way, no matter what decision you made. It just depended on how she died. So if you chose to save Doug, she would be devoured by walkers. If you chose to save Carly, she was shot by Lily. So no matter what, Carly did end up dying. I think for me, it ended up being her being shot by Lily, which was a pretty big ordeal. I was wondering if she ended up surviving, which she dies either way, it seems. So nonetheless, Carly is dead. The next person we have here is Doug. He actually died as well, and his cause of death was either devoured by walkers if Carly was saved, and accidentally shot by Lily if Doug was saved. So either way, he dies, even if you try to save him. His actual death happened in Long Road Ahead. And then he reappeared as a corpse in 400 Days. The last survivor is Beatrice. She wasn't really an important character. She was only briefly shown, and you had the decision to either shoot her as Lee or let her be devoured by walkers. Nonetheless, she is dead, which means the only survivor from the pharmacy group is Glenn. The next group of survivors we have is Lily's family. Lily we don't currently know the status of. She could be dead or alive. All we know is that she was left behind in episode 3 of season 1. Her father Larry is killed and starved for help. He was killed by a salt lick which was thrown on his head by Kenny, and there wasn't much more to it. Our next group of survivors, or dead people because both of them are dead at this point, is Traveler's Motel survivors. First one being Irene and the second one being Mark. Irene is currently dead and Mark is an undead. That said, both these characters really weren't too important. The cause of death for Irene was shot herself in the head when she was stuck in that room, and then Mark was a blood loss victim and was actually an undead. So that's all we know about those two. They weren't really important characters, like I said, but they do come up in season 1. The next 3 survivors we have, Ben, Travis, and David, were all 3 from the Stone Mountain School. Now with that said, Ben was actually invited into the group for a short time and then eventually died in the Crawford Bell Tower, depending on your outcomes, or impaled and later shot by Kenny in No Time Left. He's currently dead, like I said. Additionally, Travis and David died and starved for help. They were only briefly brought up and they were with Ben, but both of them died, like I said. So all 3 of those guys are currently dead and no longer a part of the Walking Dead game. The next group of survivors we have, which is arguably the most messed up group of survivors that we have seen so far, eating people. Oh man, it was just weird when it came across in season 1. So the first one is Brenda. She's currently dead, and she is the mother of both Andrew and Danny, and then her husband Terry is dead as well. Brenda actually died when she was bitten by Undead Mark, which is kind of weird, but that's what ended up happening there, and she died in Starved for Help. That's also when she was introduced as well. Andrew is the next person we'll discuss here, who is also a dairy farmer on their farm. He was kicked into a fence and shot by a shot in the head, possibly, or eaten by walkers. So Andrew is dead depending on your outcome. Nonetheless, he is dead, and so is his brother Danny, who was impaled with a pitchfork by Lee. Both of those two are determinate. It really just depends on what happened to them for their ending, but they are both for sure dead in the end of Starved for Help. Additionally, we never really see Terry St. John, but that is the father slash husband of these characters. He was never really shown. He was actually dead and deceased. We've known that for a while. When he was actually introduced, he was only mentioned, and there's a picture of him, but like I said, he was never actually part of any of the episode. He was just brought up briefly. Our next group is the Save Lot Bandits. We have Gary and Drew, who are both determinate characters. Both of them are deceased, and one of them was shot in the head by Lee, which was Drew. The other one was shot by Carly or Lee, depending on the decisions you made. Both of them were discovered and killed in Long Road Ahead. With that said, the last one we have here is Linda. She was briefly mentioned in Starved for Help, and then later we found out about her and saw her in Long Road Ahead, and then she also died in Long Road Ahead. Her death was caused by Carly or Doug, depending on the decisions you made, and she was actually killed trying to raid supplies at the motel. The next group of survivors we have, slash survivor, because we never actually meet Danielle, the next person is Jolene. Now, Jolene's a little bit weird. She is a Save Lot employee, and she was kind of kicked out of the group of bandits, at least from what we could see. And we also hear briefly about Danielle. Now, with that said, Jolene is actually shot by Lee or Danny, depending on the decisions you make, but she is definitely shot. Her last appearance was with the camcorder and all the videos of Clementine. It was just odd, the whole thing that was going on with Jolene. Nonetheless, she is dead. Additionally, we have Danielle. Danielle is her daughter, but we only have pictures of her. We never actually see her. She's between ages 7 and 10, so she is fairly young. And we just never really see her, and we don't know what's happened to her. So that's why she's given an unknown status. The next group of one person that we have, which is kind of weird to say, but the next group is the trained survivors. And the only trained survivor was Charles, who ended up dying. He shot himself in the head so that he wouldn't be devoured by zombies. We actually only see him from Long Road Ahead until Around Every Corner. He was a pretty cool character. He actually kind of gave you a little bit of insight about how to keep Clementine alive. He really just gave you the idea of how gruesome and difficult it is to survive in the zombie apocalypse, saying that Clementine is just not a girl anymore. She needs to be treated like an adult, so they cut her hair and taught her how to shoot. So Charles was definitely an important character, although he was only there for a brief period of time before his death. The next group of survivors we have here is Omid and Krista. Both these characters become more relevant in Season 2, but they were first announced in Season 1, so that's why we're covering them here. Omid was shot in Season 2 by Michelle. We won't get into too much of that because, like I said, this is only Season 1 characters, but he ends up dying in Season 2. He is the boyfriend of Krista, and then Krista is also discovered to be pregnant in Season 1. We were kind of hinted at her pregnancy for quite a while, and we later discovered she was for sure pregnant in Season 2. So that's their relation. Currently, Omid is dead, like I said. Krista, we don't know what happened after her run-in with the bandits. Her and Clementine got separated in Season 2, and we don't know the current status of Krista. The next group of survivors we have is the Crawford Survivors. The first one being Molly. Molly was a really cool character, and it'd be cool to see her come back because she really was quite an awesome character when we got to see her. Although it was brief, we only saw her in Around Every Corner. That was when she was first seen and last seen. The last time we saw her is when Clementine is left at the mansion and Lee fails to shoot the walkers attacking Molly. Her fate becomes unknown because we don't know if she was bitten by a zombie or if she managed to escape. So this could be a potential character to come back, and we don't really know too much other than that. The next person is Dr. Logan / Dr. Walter Ash. Now, the cause of death for this character is stabbed by Anna, who is currently alive or dead. We don't really know what happened to Anna, or stomped on by Lee. As we mentioned before, we have Anna, who we see in the camcorder video and Around Every Corner during the Crawford raid when they actually went into Crawford to see who was alive. We really don't know what's happened to her. We only see her briefly in the camcorder video, and then she disappears. So those are the three characters who were the Crawford survivors. The next group we have here is the cancer support group. This is by far the biggest group of survivors that we really see, as being kind of a family or associated together with 5 different characters. Most of them are pretty unimportant though, so we'll keep it pretty brief here. Clive and Joyce are brought up and around every corner, and then last seen in 400 Days and Shell's story. With that said, we don't know the current status of either one of those. The next one we have here is Boyd. He is a determinate character who is also brought up in 400 Days. And then we have Vernon, who was somewhat important in Season 1. Like I said, none of these guys are super important though, so we're trying to keep it somewhat brief here. His first and last appearance was in Around Every Corner. His current status is dead. The last person we have here is Bree, who is also currently dead. And then of course the final character we have here is the Marsh House Stranger. This is a little bit of a weird character as well. Pretty important though at the end there with the run-in with Lee. Pretty big brawl happens, and Lee becomes the victor, I guess, of the little brawl, because Lee lives for at least a short time longer than this guy. So anyway, the details on this guy: he was a little low coach, which kind of made him weird. I think he brought that up quite a few times. His wife, Tess, is deceased. His son, Adam, we don't know anything really about. Elizabeth, the daughter, is deceased as well. The first appearance was in Strive for Help and Long Road Ahead, and then the last appearance was in No Time Left. And then the death episode was No Time Left as well. His death was caused by Lee choking him to death or being shot in the head by Clementine, depending on what you did, and that's how he becomes a determinate character. Additionally, you guys can see there in the bottom, his lifespan was from Starved for Help to No Time Left, although he was really only visible at the end there in No Time Left, and that's when he became a very important character when he was actually killed by Lee or Clementine. So that summarizes all 40 plus characters. Wow, it took a long time to get through all of those. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to toss it a thumbs up and a favorite. It took me a long time to make it, so I hope you did enjoy it, and I hope it was a little bit helpful. I think this video could definitely be helpful as new episodes come out, because like I said, I forgot a lot of these characters. I'm sure you guys did as well. Please tell me in the comments below, guys, what do you think about this kind of video, and who is the character you guys just totally forgot about and still might not even remember much of? I know for me, like Stranger, I was like, who is that? And then I was like, oh wow, that was just a huge character in the story. And like all the cancer survivor patients, didn't remember them either. So it was kind of interesting for me, and definitely a great refresher. Thanks for watching this video. Please toss a thumbs up and a favorite if you did enjoy it, and subscribe for more. Until next time, peace, and here's the outro.